Well, hello, everybody.
Hi there. Ooh, that was an echo. Sorry.
How is everybody on this fine Wednesday evening?
It's kind of hot out, to be honest.
A little bit. September in New Jersey is we still have our toasty days.
I got my windows open, but it's a little hot in here, I think.
But we're both rocking sweatshirts tonight, so we're trying to really get into the fall mood here. We are officially 1 week under our belts in the NFL season, so we can't wait to talk about everything we saw in game action this past week. We've got a lot to talk about in the world of housewives. This is the Real Football Fans of New Jersey, and it is our 174th episode.
Ooh.
Believe it. Just rocking and rolling. And we got a great show for you tonight. A lot of fun things to talk about, but we are going to start with some poll questions that we asked you guys on Instagram. We asked you guys on Twitter. 2 football questions, 1 housewives question. And actually, looking at the results of all 3 questions, these are as tight as can be, all 3 of them. So question number 1 was, what football score from week 1 was more surprising? The Cardinals over Tennessee, which was a 38-13 win for Arizona, or the Steelers over the Bills, which was a 23-16 Pittsburgh win. 56% of you guys said the Arizona Cardinals over the Tennessee Titans. Kate, what did you say on this one?
Yeah, so I'm agreeing with the majority of our audience here. And I think it's because it's the actual, the number score. I think Pittsburgh, the mentality of them beating Buffalo is what is surprising to people. Relatively a very close game, though, with 23-16. What really was surprising me, too, was how much the Cardinals were able to put up against Tennessee, how much their offense wasn't able to do. Seeing Derrick Henry have trouble breakthrough, seeing Ryan Tannehill get taken down multiple times. So that, to me, that score 38-13 was not the outcome I was expecting. It was definitely surprising to me.
No, that's the one I went with as well. When I was looking at scores over the weekend, my eyebrows definitely raised. I was definitely surprised over that one. And I think the 23-16 score for Pittsburgh and Buffalo kind of says to me, especially those 2 teams who are kind of more used to scoring a little more points. To me, that reads as a defensive game. And then it says to me, okay, well, Pittsburgh's got a really elite defense, and that's how they won this football game. So did we both pick the Buffalo Bills to win? Yes. But in a defensive battle, is it surprising that the Steelers won? Not really. Yeah. That Arizona score, the fact that it was so lopsided, not only was surprising, but really scary for the rest of the teams in the NFC, especially in the division of the NFC West, see such a dominant performance from the Cardinals. That could be a team that people really need to look out for this season. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in week 2. So
I mean, there's a lot of dominant teams coming out of week 1, which definitely gives me a little bit of a fright. So but I think a lot of teams right now should be really scoping out their season, and you don't know what's coming around the corner for you sometimes.
Speaking of some good-looking teams, and especially one that we don't really want to see doing too well this season, but listen, both of these teams lost, but which question number 2 was, what week 1 losing team impressed you more, the Dallas Cowboys or the Cleveland Browns? We asked that because honestly, really great performances by both teams. Yes, they did not win. They played, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Not an easy task, but they both hung around in both games. 55% of you said you were more impressed with the Cleveland Browns. Caitlin, what did you say?
So I'm going to go So I went with the Dallas Cowboys. And I think it's because my expectations were so low of them, putting aside, our, NFC East bias, Katie and I, have broken down every division, every, a lot of the star players on each teams over the last couple of weeks leading up into the season. And, Dallas is that team where we've said time and time again, where on paper they look really good, but we've never seen it really execute on the field. I think Dak Prescott really came back, all out like right away. And I think that team needed that. He needed to do that. If there was anything less, not a good spark there, it would have been a tougher game for them. That loss would not have been, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Impressive, so to say. And yeah, so I think that's why that one stood out to me a little bit more. But I do definitely kudos to the Browns as well, because both teams playing, top tier teams,
Yeah.
And it's not easy, to come out and do that, and to, no one wants to lose, but it's not like other losses that, that day.
It was different for sure. I actually went with the Cowboys as well. More of a thing of like, you and I both picked the Cleveland Browns to win their division. Mm-hmm. So we expected the Cleveland Browns to be a good team this year. And I picked the Cowboys to win the NFC East. So I do expect them to be good, but I definitely think I probably had higher hopes for the Browns. What's actually really impressive about this loss by the Dallas Cowboys is that Ezekiel Elliott did nothing in that game.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
That all came from Dak Prescott and his wide receivers. Mm-hmm. And to know that Dak is back like full throttle, and they didn't even need Ezekiel Elliott to be in a neck-to-neck game with the Super Bowl champions from 1 year ago, that was extremely impressive to me. So that was, as much as it sucks to lose, that was a great opening game for the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. All right, and our final question, we wanted to ask you guys this because we are going to be getting into talks about this franchise later on in the show. But did you guys watch the season 2 premiere of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? Caitlin and I used to never have ties on these poll questions. And now we are on like a hot streak. This was a 50-50 split, 50% to 50% tie. Half of you did watch it, half of you didn't. If you did not watch it and want to watch it, you might want to mute us at the point that we talk. Episode number 1. If you did
spoilers
watch,
coming.
Definitely stick around. Leave us off of mute and listen to us. Send in your comments, your questions, your thoughts, whether you agree with us or disagree on certain topics. But yeah, Caitlin, you watched it. I watched it as well. Obviously, we're talking about it tonight in the show. And a lot to unpack. This is a franchise we're very excited about. And as promised from last week, we are going to give you a episode 1 recap later in the show.
It just felt so good. So I watched it last night. Katie and I weren't able to watch it on Sunday because obviously it conflicts with football. It's not at a great time. But I was so happy to be excited about watching an episode again. Because clearly over the past couple of weeks with New York, Katie and I, it's been like homework for us. I know Katie made that comparison yesterday to me, and I was like, honestly, it's like the best that I've ever heard, because it's becoming a chore. So last night though, me watching, not a chore at all, so entertaining. So I'm thrilled to be talking about it tonight in a little bit.
Yeah. And before we get into our big stories of the week, obviously this is a big story itself. And we hate breaking news like this on the show. But obviously we have to bring up the fact, rest in peace to Real Housewives of Atlanta's star, Greg Leaks, Nene Leaks' husband. He lost his battle with cancer. I know Caitlin and I, we spoke about his battle. I think it was just maybe like 2 or 3 episodes ago. Yeah. He said that his cancer had come back. It had really spread. They were asking for prayers. Obviously we brought it up on the show, asking everyone for prayers. And unfortunately, he did lose his battle to cancer just the other day. And just a very sad thing to hear. Thoughts to the Leaks family, to, I know Andy tweeted out something and he was very upset to hear the news, as we all are. And so our thoughts and prayers are with them, and just absolutely horrible. We hate talking about things like this on the show.
Yeah, very sad for sure. And truly an iconic housewives husband. He's one of the OG husbands. We talk about Jersey all the time, but he truly was one of the most standout ones from the beginning in Atlanta. So, and to this day, he held, true to that. So like Katie said, thoughts and prayers. Never want to report on this, but unfortunately that is the case.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's move into football. Obviously, we are done with our polls, but if you do have any questions for us, if you have any commentary, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So go ahead, send in those questions, send in your thoughts, because we're about to get into week 1 thoughts. But first, we have to do an injury roundup because, oh my God, we hate reporting on it, but here it is, people. It was like, listen, bing, bang, boom, right away in week 1. So this one definitely stood out to us, being within the NFC East, stood out to me because I wasn't really paying attention to the 1 o'clock games. Katie and I had both had prior engagements. And I'm seeing out of nowhere that, it's not Ryan Fitzpatrick playing for the Washington football team anymore. So in the opener, Washington football team quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick suffered a hip subluxation. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he hurt his hip, people. Just to be plain and simple there. He has been placed on IR. So Taylor Heineke did go in for him. So he actually had a really nice pass to, I'm blanking on his name. I don't know how that guy caught that ball, but he did go in, didn't play bad, but it's not, they didn't win. So there's that. He is going to be the week 2 starter. Kyle Allen is also on the roster, as we should point out. And it has been reported as of today that it's most likely Fitzpatrick is going to be out several weeks on this one. So
crazy. Such a tough blow for Washington.
I know.
And I know then again, the Cam Newton rumors started to swirl because obviously it would be, a reunion between him and his former head coach, Ron Rivera. They spent time together in Carolina for many seasons. I don't think that's going to come to fruition. And honestly, I think they should just ride it out and see what they got with Heineke and also with Kyle Allen. Obviously both of those guys saw playing time last year with Alex Smith, with Alex Smith. All those guys are used to getting, first team reps.
Right.
So I think they can handle it, and hopefully it is just a couple weeks several weeks for Ryan Fitzpatrick. But if they can hang around in the NFC East, pick up some wins, and then, let Fitzpatrick come back and see what he can do, they'll have to manage without him. But I don't really see them picking up anybody else.
No, and I would advise not to, like you did, just it's early on, 1 game, let's play it out. Like you said, their 2 backups have experience. So why don't you just, see what happens? We've seen stranger things with injuries in the preseason turn out to be, a couple of weeks. And then it's like, all right, just kidding, you're back tomorrow. So just kind of.
Remember when we thought Carson Wentz was going to be out for 12 weeks?
Literally
and then ready for week 1? Oh, sure.
So stranger thing. Yeah, definitely. All righty. So good news in Dallas there's actually some bad news in Dallas today, but good news in Dallas is that they have activated guard Zach Martin off the reserve COVID-19 list, but then also bad, Michael Gallup on injured reserve with a calf injury. So then obviously with that, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Cedric Wilson are most likely, they're going to get all the reps with Gallup out. And just real quickly, this is out of Dallas 5 minutes ago, not even. It's technically a week 2 injury, but I'll tell you now. Defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence suffered a broken foot at practice today, and he is out indefinitely. So a lot of stuff happening in Dallas. So technically, again, a week 2 injury, but we're giving it to you right now because it is breaking news technically. Out in San Francisco, truly, truly heartbreaking here. A really tough one. Raheem Mostert, and sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, is going on IR after chipping cartilage in his knee. That just sounds painful.
Yeah.
In the game against Detroit, he is expected, Yeah, so prior to today, it was expected 8 weeks, but I do know it came out today that he's going to be out for the season because he consulted with a couple of different doctors and they made the decision that he should have surgery that will end his season. Yeah. So I don't even want to pronounce
Michael Hasty.
Guys, I'm so sorry, but I need I need the Google pronunciator for all of this. I just can't. JaMychal Hasty, and then rookie Elijah Mitchell and rookie Trace Urban are gonna, carry the load with him out. But again, just truly that was one of the hard ones to see this weekend for sure.
Yeah.
But let's just hope that, obviously this surgery can fix a lot of things, come back next year better than ever. So
fantasy football tip. Obviously, if you have Mostert, make sure you swap him out, pick somebody else up. I tried to pick up Elijah Mitchell. Somebody beat me to the punch. But yeah, this rookie running back for San Fran this past week in the week one opener rushed for over 100 yards. And I do think that Trey Sermon is going to, be in the mix there. But I definitely think Elijah Mitchell could be a good fantasy pickup for people if he is still available in your league.
Yep.
So.
Good tip. This one hurt me because I'm a big fan of this kid. And this happened during our game, the Giants against the Broncos. So Denver wide receiver Jerry Jeudy is going to miss some time. He has a high ankle sprain. He was doing great, had 6 catches for 72 yards before exiting the game on Sunday. So if he does have to go on injured reserve, it's a miss, close to six weeks for that one. So yeah, that one was tough to watch. I love Jerry Jeudy. Obviously, he's a Bama guy. I've liked him for a really long time. Tough to see a guy like him. Also tough to see Teddy Bridgewater do well in the game against the Giants because, big fan there. But it was hard to see that. Definitely not. He's a young star for sure. So let's really hope that he can rehab it, get it healthy, and see what, we can get out of Jerry Jeudy, in a couple weeks or so.
Yep.
And then also for the New York Jets, tackle Mekhi Becton. Again, apologies. We'll be out. Damn it. Mackay. Fuck. I'm so bad at this. I can't do these, Katie. You have to do them before.
I'm sorry. I should have gone through these names with you before the show. Mekhi Becton.
Mekhi Becton. But I should know them because I hear them every day, but I just never know. It's
all good.
Honestly, people, you guys know how long it took me to learn Tua's name, and I absolutely love him, and it took me like a year to get it down. So one day, Mackay, I'll get it for you. He will be out 4 to 5 weeks after suffering a kneecap dislocation. Oh, again, that sounds so gross. He will have to undergo surgery. He also sprained his MCL. So a lot going on there. But actually, funny enough, that happened to me when I sprained my MCL. The kneecap shifted and then it comes. That's what it does. It goes. And when it's on its way back, that's when it messes up your knee.
Okay. All right.
So I didn't have to have surgery, luckily, but that's what happened. So not surprised there. So I've been there, Mackay. Trust me. It's not pretty. This is truly a big loss for the Jets. They had already, given up 6 sacks in their week 1 loss to Carolina, so just a lot going on there. But
it's not going to help their rookie quarterback. It's not going to help that situation.
No.
That is a big time loss for the Jets. Luckily, only out 4 to 5 weeks. Hearing that injury, I would have thought longer, but honestly, just 4 to 5 weeks, that's almost like a win. But they're definitely going to miss him while he's gone for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that is the injury roundup again. If you have some of these guys on your fantasy teams, make sure you do your due diligence and swap them out. I know some leagues let you have a little IR spot. You can leave a guy there on
Love
IR.
that spot.
Yeah. So do what you got to do. Make your moves. But let's get into our second big story of the week, which is we're going to be doing this, every week. For the football season, just kind of giving you our thoughts from the games from the past week. So these are our week 1 thoughts. I think we have to start it out and nothing specific, but I'm sure you have some kind of thoughts on what an amazing opening game of the 2021 football season between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Katie, it was amazing enough for me to stay up past midnight and watch this.
When Caitlin told me the next day that she had watched the whole thing, I was stunned. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so I will admit Monday night I did not stay up the whole game because I was so footballed out, to be honest.
Thursday night's game was the one to stay awake for. It was
but Monday was the game to stay awake for too. I
know, but
myself.
But I think the teams too, obviously we're very invested in watching what the Cowboys are going to do. And then you also have the reigning Super Bowl champions, and you just have like the excitement of the very first game. So
that's what I was definitely riding, the excitement of just, football's back. I'm in such a good mood, like everything like that. I think what really steered me to stay awake, though, too, was because we spoke about it earlier. I was very impressed with how Dallas played. Yeah. I did not want to go to bed when I was really tired, because I was like, if I wake up and the Cowboys won and I didn't see it, like, I'm going to be like, obviously I'd be in a bad mood if they won. But if I have to wake up and start my day to find out that they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like, I am going to have a miserable Friday, a miserable start to my weekend. So I was like, I need to see them win or lose this game.
This game was the perfect kickoff for me in my first ever fantasy football season, because I don't know if I said this on the show last week. I, in fact, have quarterback Dak Prescott on my team. And so to me, it was like going into the game, I was like, I need Dak to like light it on fire. And then the Cowboys lose the game. And that is exactly what happened. So I was like, this is my most perfect outcome. Let's make this the theme of the season, Cowboys.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, hats off to Tampa Bay too. It doesn't seem like they're going to be in this Super Bowl slump. We do bring up
the whole team back.
That's what I was going to say. Back. But that's where my compliment was going to come. That, like we've said multiple times, that they brought everyone back, but everyone looks good. And can we talk about Antonio Brown? That matchup was fire that night. I think he's finally getting out of his weird shit. Like, finally.
Is in 3 fantasy leagues. He was pretty high on Antonio Brown, and he drafted him in 2 out of his 3 leagues. And started him in those 2 leagues. He was really like a believer. I know people were kind of like scratching their heads a little bit when he was taking him, and he was just loving it all game long. So honestly, like, I think the fact that Tampa Bay has now had like a full off season with like all the same guys. Like last year, it was Tom Brady's first year in Tampa Bay. Like, they were all kind of getting used to a new system, bringing in players. Antonio came in later. Gronk came out of retirement. Now they all have an off season together. That's scary. This is going to be a real good team. They're not going to fall off the map.
Yeah, there definitely were some areas, though, where the Dallas Cowboys were able to kind of get in through those cracks. So to me, and it's not, again, I've already gave my praise to the Cowboys. I'm not giving any more, because it's going to give me agita and give me anxiety and nausea. So I'm done giving praise there, but like, that's it. So it just showed to me that Tampa is beatable, though, which is kind of the silver line. Like, that is like the light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, Dallas was beaten. I think they were still making some, mistakes, that, and any team can make. So you're not this top tier team. So like, I don't want people to start thinking that.
I think anything, it showed that like both of these teams, like, I think their weak spot is their defense.
Yes.
And so if you are going to beat them, like, you are going to have to beat them on that side.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. We had a revenge game in week 1. I love it when the NFL like gives us these juicy games at like good time slots, right? So we had Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers facing off against his old team, the New York Jets, and his replacement in rookie quarterback Zach Wilson. And Sam Darnold came out on top. The Carolina Panthers came out on top with a 19-14 win.
Yep.
Huge game if you have him in fantasy. I'm sure you do, with the number 1 overall pick. Christian McCaffrey definitely delivered for you. He had 80+ receiving yards and 80+ rush yards. But honestly, like, Sam Darnold had a really nice game for them as well. He had a fat line. And so that was an interesting game to watch and kind of see him. Zach Wilson, I don't think did anything too spectacular. I think for a rookie in his first game, he didn't do anything too atrociously bad.
No.
It was just kind of like a mediocre performance for somebody going into their very first NFL game.
I'm pretty big on the Jets scoring 14 points. I think that's impressive on their end. And then Carolina too. I think the past couple seasons they've been that question mark's been following them around. If Christian McCaffrey's going to come back and put up, numbers like this right after an injury, we just said this about Dak Prescott before. You got to come back off these things. You got to light it up. So he lit it up. If he has that connection with Sam Darnold, if Sam Darnold truly has found his place in Carolina, then listen, they're not going to be a Super Bowl contending team this year, but they could be finally eliminating that question mark that's literally just been on their shoulder for a very long time.
Absolutely. We had our first overtime game of the weekend was the Cincinnati Bengals and the Minnesota Vikings. Kate, I think we were split on this game. I took the Vikings. I believe you took the Bengals.
I took the Bengals.
And you got me on this one because the Cincinnati Bengals defeated the Vikings 27-24 in overtime on a 33-yard game-winning field goal. So that was the first overtime exciting game of the weekend. Let's talk about, we've obviously mentioned it earlier in the show, the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Browns actually led Kansas City 22-10. This just reminds me of the playoff runs that the Chiefs go on. It doesn't matter how many points you have up on them. They're going to come back and they're going to win, which is what they did. So yes, Cleveland led 22-10 at half. And then obviously, KC comes marching back, ends up winning the game.
It's I also don't want to be ahead of Kansas City at halftime. I want them to be ahead, or maybe it be not that big of a gap at halftime. It's I feel like teams should not strive for that.
But again, we asked the question at the beginning of the show because I was really impressed with the Cleveland Browns and what they were able to do. Yeah. Odell Beckham Jr. was a very late no-go for the game for week one. So that came last minute. I know that was a tough one for fantasy people.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a solid squad. And honestly, I feel really good about us picking them to win the NFC North. I think I think they could actually not only make the playoffs, but I think they are capable of winning some playoff games. I really do.
I agree. Yeah, I have to see the progression throughout the season, but obviously I picked them to win the division as well. Right. If I want to see kind of what they go on past that first game, I just need to kind of see a little bit more. But as are you, I'm very impressed with how they played in this first game. And you got to come out strong. It sucks. I apologize. You had to play the Kansas City Chiefs in your first game. That sucks.
Right?
Yeah, and someone had to do it. So, but I do give props to the team that had to do it in the Browns. They did the best clearly that they could have.
Right. Okay. So we obviously mentioned two surprising scores at the beginning of the show, but this by far, hands down to me, was the most.
I still can't believe it.
Score that I saw all weekend. The New Orleans Saints, and yes, I'm calling it an upset because it is a big time upset. The Saints upset the Green Bay Packers 38-3.
The fact that the Packers didn't even score a touchdown is mind-boggling.
3 points. Now, also mind-boggling that Green Bay was not scoring points, but also mind-boggling that New Orleans scored 38. We had quarterback Jameis Winston tying his career high with 5 passing touchdowns in the game. So he delivered.
Literally.
This was shocking. I don't really know. I honestly, because it's week one, I have no idea what to make of it yet. I don't know if the Saints are for real. I don't know if Green Bay really sucks that bad. I have to see.
I don't know. Yeah.
I really am so invested in seeing what these two teams are going to be doing in week 2 because I'm I don't know what to make of this.
Well, it's perfect because Green Bay plays Detroit this week. So we will really find out if you are a trashy team this week.
We said Detroit is most likely going to be the worst team in the NFL this season. We've said that.
Yes.
And so if they come out, and I get it, it's a division game, but still, if they come out and they don't win this, I'm going to be, I don't even know what to say. I mean, this is coming from last week on our show when we had to give our early Super Bowl predictions. I had Green Bay playing in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So my mind is exploding, and I need to see more.
Life comes at you fast, Katie.
It really does. Week 1 is really just.
It kept me. I joked though. This game, them losing that badly, kept me from jumping off the ledge from our game on Sunday. I gotta be honest.
Could be worse.
It could be. I was really close.
Like, especially being a Green Bay fan, like it's almost worse because you have such high expectations.
Yeah.
Like as a Giants fan, I'm like, all right, settle down. You knew it could have been very well that we would lose. But Green Bay, it's like you go as a Green Bay fan, I truly think you go into every game thinking that you're going to win. And certainly this game against the Saints, Jameis Winston, you don't really think much of it.
But like for me, like when I like put myself in the shoes of a Green Bay fan, and we've even like asked Green Bay fans like about the whole thing with Aaron Rodgers in the offseason, like when are you guys going to get frustrated with your team? When are you going to get frustrated with Aaron Rodgers?
I think they're very frustrated with the organization. I don't think.
But now a guy who didn't show up to camp at all, did absolutely nothing for you.
Could have maybe used a little bit of training camp.
Couldn't throw a damn touchdown against the New Orleans Saints. Like, guys, come on. Like, when are you going to get frustrated? Yeah. When are you going to get mad? Because I understand it was one game, and that's why, like, I'm out on Twitter chirping at Giants fans to shut the hell up. It was one game. But as a Packers fan, I could see them being mad now. Like, because that's just unacceptable.
It was crazy. And then, you know, we had such a phenomenal start to week 1 with our season opener. And we had a great finish, as Caitlin said. We had Monday Night Football. We had the Raiders beat the Baltimore Ravens 33-27 in overtime on a 31-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Zay Jones. That was a game that I didn't really think I was going to like watch that much, but you know, it was a very exciting finish, very exciting end. And I feel like, I don't know, it was a great week 1. It was an unexpected week 1. I went 9 out of 16 on my picks. I think week 1 is always the most difficult by far to do your picks.
Yeah.
But I just feel like there were so many good storylines that came out of week 1, so many like exciting things that we saw. And it was just a great kickoff to the season. It really was.
I 100% agree. It was exciting. I'm, you know, looking forward to this weekend. I know we were a little bogged down this past weekend, but you know, this Sunday is all football, baby.
Yep.
But yeah, so speaking of that, let's get into week 2. Let's do a little chit chat in here. So as always, for the remainder of the season, we will give you our picks week after week. We will also give you one lock and one upset with these picks. Big disclaimer, big reminder. Katie and I do this based on who we think is going to win the game. We do not look at money lines. We do not look at, you know, of course we look at stats, but we are not providing you guidance on what. Hey, listen, if you want to use our guidance to go and make a bet, good for you. Go ahead. Don't blame us at the end.
Picks.
These are just straight up picks, and then who we think will go in an upset, who will go in a lock. If you guys watch Fox Sports on Sundays, you know, they do their football show. They do this. That's what we're doing. That's literally all we're doing. I've said this before too. You can go on Twitter. You can follow Sosa the Locksmith. They give you picks. They're the gambling, the betting experts. Go after them. We are just doing our own thing here. Yeah. So with that being said, why don't you kick us off and give us your week 2 picks?
All right. So in week 2, I'm going with Washington, New England, Denver, Buffalo, San Francisco, the Rams, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Browns, the Saints, the Cardinals, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and I am going with Green Bay. I still would like to think they could beat Detroit. My lock is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Atlanta Falcons. That is a division game, but what I saw from Atlanta in week 1 was pretty pathetic. And then my upset, it worked for me last week. I'm going to go with it again. I am taking the Raiders over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All righty. Well, mine is a little bit out of order from yours, per usual.
I'm usually able to like track it though and count on my fingers how many we have different.
I was trying to follow and I couldn't.
I got you. I'll let you know.
So I am going with the Washington football team. Sorry, guys. I'm hurting. So, and then I'm going with the Bengals, the Browns, the Rams, Buffalo, New England, the 49ers, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Saints, the Broncos, Arizona, Tampa Bay, the Chargers, Seattle, Kansas City, and as Katie said, I will be going with Green Bay too.
So we only have one game different, and I know which one it is. And actually, this was my toughest game to pick this week. The Los Angeles Chargers versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I went with the Cowboys. Caitlin went with the Chargers. And it is funny that this is the one because this was the one that I really like. This was the last pick I made because I could not decide. So, but that is, I think this might have been the closest you and I ever got to almost all of the same picks. So we're going to ride or die together, girl.
We'll see. So my lock is the Kansas City Chiefs over the Baltimore Ravens. And my upset is the same as yours. I'm going with the Raiders over the Steelers.
I like it. I like it. All right. Well, we are going to get into more week one talk in our game. It's a great game, so stick around for that. But as promised, we are going to get into our big stories of the week in the world of housewives. And this first one is going to be our Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 2 premiere recap. Like Caitlin said in the beginning of the show, we could not wait for this premiere. Unfortunately, airs on Sundays, but we did make sure to catch it on demand before tonight's show. Just some things we want to discuss. Obviously, I think last week we told you guys that the first 2 minutes of the show had leaked. And we were like, go watch it, go watch it, go watch it. So yes, of course, that is how we start. And how we start is the women loading on a bus to go on like a little trip together. And Jen Shaw is there. She gets on the bus, whatever. She gets a call from her husband, Sharif. All of a sudden she gets really weird. She takes her mic off. She gets off the bus. She gets back on the bus. She says, I have to go. This isn't good, blah, blah, blah. She leaves. Like 10 minutes later, they then show footage of several police officers coming to the bus and saying, where's Jen Shaw? And the women are like, holy shit. Whitney ends up reading on her phone that she's being charged, her and Stu, for fraud. And then you see helicopters swirling. You see the cars outside of the chalet, Jen Shaw chalet, searching the home. All this crazy, crazy shit. And then they also kind of flash forward a little bit into, obviously, when the women do their one-on-one interviews that we see on camera. You do hear producers asking, like, all of the women in their interviews, like, who tipped off the feds that day? What do you know that you aren't saying? Jenny in one scene actually asks Lisa Barlow, like, do you do business with her? Do you have business with her? They kind of like flash forward and show the women talking about it further. But then we go back and we jump back to 2 months earlier. And that's where the real episode, takes off.
So I had to remind, so I loved the 2 minutes it's starting that way, but I had to remind myself that was a future scene. Like I kind of forgot about it because, and I was so confused because when they go, Jen is one of the first people that they bring on. So if you're not familiar with Housewives, when they do premiere a season, they go to each lady. And they kind of do what's been going on with their lives, things like that. So Jen's one of the first ones. And when she's talking to Lisa, I'm kind of like, why is she not like freaking out that like she's going to jail? So like I had to, and then she had like the family part. I had to like remind myself that was a future scene. Like I understand why they did it. And I thought it was excellent. It was a phenomenal 2 minutes. Right. I got confused and I was like, wait a minute. So
Caitlin, I think you kind of gave kudos to this last week when we briefly mentioned it, but I honestly think this might have been one of the best pieces of editing I've seen.
Oh my God.
In a Housewives episode.
Very good.
The fact that they were like, this is the juicy story of the season and this is how it's going to go and this is what's going to play out. And let's just kick it off with a bang. Like, we just dealt with Roni. The people need this. Let's kick this off with a bang and let's give them exactly let's not make them wait, when you're watching a show and then like it cuts to commercial and you have to wait, or you have to wait till next week to see the exciting shit. No, they gave it to us right out of the gate and they gave us a good amount and then they took us back to the beginning. I thought it was
so good.
Such a good editing job. So we jump back to 2 months earlier. Everybody is kind of, just so you get the timeline, this is like everyone's kind of coming out of the height of COVID. This is when you first can really start seeing people. People have not been around each other. Jen is in a new chalet, which funny enough, like it was like this story in the off season about how like, oh, she doesn't own her chalet. It's a rental. But she just kind of came out and said it on the show. It was like, my lease was up. I got a new place, but I got a chalet. Revelation, not just big things going on with her and the law, but she does admits that her and Sharif almost got a divorce. That he went as far as reaching out to a divorce attorney. She equates it to the fact that she really was like lashing out a lot. Obviously, we saw it last season, getting angry. And he didn't really know how to help her. He didn't think that he was helping her in any kind of way to just be a better person. They are in couples therapy now. She did say that. But yeah, I texted Caitlin like when we were talking about the episode and I was like, it's not going to surprise me if these two still get a divorce. I don't see good things for this couple.
No.
Better things for another couple. Meredith also has a new house. Very beautiful. Love it.
Oh, I loved it. The views were, oh my God, breathtaking.
Beautiful house. Her and Seth are in a much better place. He is spending 50% of his time in Salt Lake City and they're just enjoying that time together. And I'm really rooting for them. I really
Me too. Them. They're very cute. I definitely think in the beginning we were both like
we were a little
about it. But I'm just so happy for the two of them now. They do seem like they're in a better place. It seems like, their kids are along with the better place. And it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Mary, she's kind of boring. Like, I really don't think she has a good storyline. No. Mary's up to, she has a new podcast, Talking Facts with Mary Cosby. Wasn't very interesting. No. Not much to go off of there. We meet Jenny. She is the new housewife. And Caitlin and I both agreed what we saw of her. It wasn't a ton. But we liked her. We liked what we saw. Her connection to the housewives and this group of ladies, she is friends with Lisa for over 10 years. Their sons are best friends. They were also, when they met, they were pregnant at the same exact time with their second kids. They kind of bonded over that. Jenny has a very interesting background, very interesting story. She came from Vietnam at age 7. Even tells kind of comical. You laugh about it now, I think. She has the story about how when she came from Vietnam, her dad wanted to enroll her in kindergarten. And so they lied about her age and said that she was 5. So on paper, she is 2 years younger than she actually is. And it's like, wow, that's crazy.
I would be pushing for the 2 years younger.
Right? I would even tell people that. I would
that age.
That. Yep. Her husband is a chiropractor. They honestly seem like a good, wholesome couple.
Yeah.
They do a lot, but they just seem like a nice family. And I liked her, what we saw of her. Okay. This is what I really think is the theme of the season. Obviously, besides Jen Shah's legal troubles, we definitely get a lot of Meredith versus Jen and their drama from season 1, and the fact that Lisa's kind of in the middle. Lisa and Meredith consider each other to be best friends, but Lisa's also staying close with Jen and continuing a friendship with her, which is hurting Meredith. You can tell that it is. Jen's been posting things about, not just Meredith's family. She's also been posting about Heather being a racist.
Right.
Meredith says that Jen has been liking and reposting homophobic comments she sees on social media about Brooks, which is just disgusting.
Right.
And then, we see the episode 1 ends with Meredith and Lisa having dinner together at Meredith's place and the two of them going off to talk. And Lisa trying to say, like, if Jen comes to you and apologizes, like, can we all move on? And Meredith is like,
no,
dude, it's not. You're making it sound like it's simple, like it's not like that. And I agree with her. Like, you went.
I do too.
You went for her family. Like, there's just no coming back from that. And I think it's also because Meredith knows that anything that Jen would say would not be genuine. And I just, yeah.
And she's a ticking time bomb. I understand why Meredith doesn't want to sit down and talk to her. And she mentioned it when talking to Lisa. She was like, we did try to talk and she friggin' blew up in my face. Like, I would not want to either. Like, great. You want to apologize to me in passing? Great. I'm not going to believe you, A, but I also don't want to sit down with you one-on-one because I'm not scared of you, but like you're literally going to blow up again. And that's just, there's no resolution.
He's toxic. You can't have toxic people in your life. You have to disengage from toxic people.
And what's I don't understand what is so far up Lisa and Jen's ass that someone doesn't like you and doesn't want to be like, great, you brought it on yourself. Great. You don't want to be, she doesn't want to be friends with you. And then Lisa, why are you trying to make this peace? And I think it's because that no one else likes Lisa. So if Jen turns on her, she's going to be like, well, wait, shit. Like I still have Meredith. Like I need to, but like that might be the case too. Who knows? Like,
but we also see in the preview at the end of the show, we kind of see like Lisa starts to shy away and back away from her friendship with Jen because of Jen's legal trouble. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as well. We also see clips of Jen telling Heather, like, I need a friend. And Heather's like, I'm here for you.
So I don't want her to fall
the dynamic and the friendships, they're going to shift. They're going to change. And I just think that this is going to be a phenomenal season. And I am buckled in and I'm ready.
I'm ready. Me too. It was a great first episode. But yeah, and honestly, that was just the gist of it. You guys got to go out and watch it. And obviously let us know your thoughts after you see it.
Absolutely.
So our second story, this one, I'm a little upset about this, to be honest. Like, I wasn't expecting this. So we're talking about the Gorgas. They listed their Jersey Shore house. So the one that we literally comment on every season. Yeah. We're like, I love this house. It's so nice. Like, can we go there? Can we like rent it? Things like that. Maybe we can buy it now. So Melissa and Joe, they have already listed their newly renovated 7-bedroom, 5-bath vacation home in Toms River. So that is in the Jersey Shore for people who are unaware. So they purchased it in 2019. I didn't realize it was that quick ago. I thought it was a little bit longer.
I did, which is why when I saw this story, I was like, whoa, they just got it.
So they bought it for $975,000 and they're going to make a profit because they listed it at $2.9 million. So good for them. It is in a great location though, down at the Jersey Shore because it's on a double lot. It's at the end of the cul-de-sac and it's on the bay. So it's a really good spot for them. It is on the Barnegat Bay. So we've obviously seen the house on many episodes. So it has a great view of the water, an in-ground pool. They have that phenomenal bar outside. They're always making margaritas and like so nice. So honestly, like, are they going to get another place? Because like that, again, a huge storyline with housewives going to the beach and things like that.
And they have a shore house. They had a shore house before this shore house. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to get another place.
I guess they're probably going to go bigger. And then, would you sell it if you were them? Like I wouldn't. Like
here's my thing. And I was actually telling my husband about this story last night and telling him about it. They bought it for $975,000. They listed it for $2.9. That's not to say that they're gonna get $2.9, but that's what they listed it at. Also, keep in mind they did fully renovate, so they bought it for $975,000, spent whatever they spent to make it as gorgeous as we've seen on TV. I was like 1 month ago, I was at a bachelorette party in Long Beach Island, and the girl's house, she said like, everybody's house in this area just in the last year has gone up in value by like 200,000.
Yeah.
Apparently, like it is so difficult to buy a house down the shore right now. It'll be on the market for like a day and they go, and people are paying whatever they've got to pay to get one right now. So I think what they're doing is, I'm sure they love this house and they enjoy it. And I think they're just kind of throwing a big number out there. Yeah. And if they get it, they made a great profit. Right. If they don't get it, they're going to be like, all right, cool. Like, not a big deal. We'll we'll keep enjoying our house.
Yeah, so I think that's fair.
With this, I think that was the game plan.
Yeah. So, and maybe we'll see a little bit of extra of the house. We are expecting a premiere date coming late this year or early next year. So I'm sure they're getting
I did see that they filmed like a pink party at the house, and Tiki Barber and his wife will be there. They definitely filmed a lot of scenes, so it seems, on social media. So we're gonna get to see that as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that point in the night, we are going to play a game. It is called We're Back, Baby, Week 1 Superlatives. So the NFL season finally kicked off this past week, and after the conclusion of all of the Week 1 games, we are now going to give you some picks for some following Week 1 NFL superlatives. So question number 1, superlative number 1, is player that surprised you the most, good or bad. Who did you go with?
I'm looking on the bad side of things here, and I got to go with Aaron Rodgers. Again, that Green Bay game was just so horrendous for Aaron Rodgers, an MVP, multiple time MVP quarterback, not to put up a single touchdown against a team that you always want to go up against and play well in the New Orleans Saints. I'm still not over this loss. I can't get past it. He could barely move his team up and down the field. He was getting hit left and right. Clearly, there's a lot of question marks on the entire team itself, but himself, a known player to carry a team. Mm-hmm. Awful performance.
So I actually went with Aaron Rodgers as well. And not only, Caitlin, are you mentioning that he did not throw a touchdown, but he had 2 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers
He had a red zone interception. That doesn't happen.
But Aaron Rodgers is also the kind of guy who will finish an entire season with maybe 5 interceptions on the whole season. Right. He had 2 in this first game, 0 touchdowns, went 15 for 28. By the way, why did he throw the ball only 28 times? Especially if you were down that much, you think you'd be airing it out. He went 15 for 28, 133 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I said this on Sunday. I think this might have been the ugliest stat line Aaron Rodgers has ever had in his career.
It has to be.
And you could probably go back to his rookie season. Yep. Obviously, he didn't play as a rookie right away because Brett Favre. But when he first was a starter in the NFL, I don't think he's ever had a game that was this poor. This is as bad as it gets.
Absolutely.
All right, number 2, the team that surprised you the most, good or bad?
So I'm going to go with good. And I couldn't pick between 2 of these teams. So I did end up picking 2 teams, but it's very much for the same reason. So the first one kills me to say it, but I got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. And the other one is the Houston Texans. From where I'm looking at it, though, is because they put up so many points, both of these teams. I really wasn't expecting it week 1 from either of them. Philly played, the Falcons, and they're always a team, that everyone knows piss me off. They grind my gears. So guess what, Atlanta, you're back on my shit list. I thought maybe you could open it up for me. No, you're back down on my shit list. Yeah. Did absolutely nothing. But, the Eagles, they really were able to advance, and they were able to score a lot of points. So I got to give, that credit there. I jokingly tweeted out because Alabama did make a tweet because their first touchdown pass was Jalen to Devontae Smith. So, and it was like Alabama, so excited. And I just retweeted it. And I was like, honestly, that was just a straight dagger to my heart. I cannot be happy.
I cannot do that.
I just can't. The football gods truly hate me, I think. Yeah. But have to point that out. And then the same thing with the Texans playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville was actually my lock last week. So
I picked Houston to win. You surprised me with that lock pick.
I do understand that Jacksonville is probably going to be bad again this season. They have a lot to build up, and Trevor Lawrence is not the end-all, be-all answer for them. Is he going to do great things for them? Yes, most likely. I would bet money on that. But not right away. Yeah. But 2, Houston is an absolute dumpster fire, but they came out, and props to Tyrod Taylor, who's been in the shadows for so long, went out and started on Sunday and truly showed what he is made of. So I couldn't pick between the 2 of them, but the main reason was how many points both teams scored.
Yeah. Well, listen, I went with two teams as well, one for good and one for bad. And I don't think it needs any further explanation because we've already spoken enough about it. But I went with New Orleans, surprise in a good way. And obviously Green Bay, surprise in a bad way.
In a bad way.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, your own personal fantasy football stud of week 1. Somebody you have on your team that just killed it for you.
Only started him on one team, and I regret it, but I did pick him up late in the other team. That's why I didn't start him. But Katie, you're high on him, Mr. Corey Davis out of New York with the Jets. Did really big things for my one team this week. So
yeah, he crushed it. And honestly, that was a last minute decision. I can't remember who my husband was choosing between playing Corey Davis or somebody else. And I was like, just go for it. Go for Corey Davis.
Very smart.
And then we were texting each other. I was at a bridal shower. He was at the bar. And I'm like, Corey Davis!
Yeah. Now, I regret not starting him in both of the leagues I have him. But definitely good.
Huge bright spot for the Jets.
Yeah.
Okay. My personal fantasy football stud of week 1 was Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott. Yeah. He threw for 403 yards, 3 touchdowns. What's actually kind of funny, though, as much as he was my week 1 stud, my backup quarterback on my team had more points than him. My backup is Jameis Winston. So I don't know how many weeks I'll be picking Jameis over Dak, but it was funny that Dak was like my bright spot, and I still had a quarterback on my bench that had more points.
You got to get into the 2 QB league that I'm in.
I guess so.
That was the one league I'm in. We dominate. We had 2. I forget it's, and I say we because my boyfriend and I own the league together, or the team together. But it's a wild. I've never played with 2. Like you have to start 2 quarterbacks. Yeah. That's what I mean by 2 QB league. Yeah. We like over 200 points, but it was because of our quarterbacks. Right, and like honestly, and that's the Corey Davis team that we played him. So very happy about that. But you gotta with that duo, you gotta join.
Right? I know, right? Okay, well, number 4, and I think, I think everybody experienced one of these on their team this week. There was a lot of guys who were just not performing. Who was your own personal fantasy football dud of week 1?
Aaron Jones for the Packers.
Yeah, that's mine. What the hell?
He was my first round pick. Yep, me too. Got me nothing. That was like 4 points, I think. 9
rush yards, 13 receiving yards. And yes, in my league, it got me 4 points.
Yeah, not good.
So bad.
Not well, B. Not good.
Not well, B.
Not well.
Right. Number 5, obviously, we do our picks every week. We did our picks last week. So your best week 1 pick that you got right.
Cincinnati over Minnesota.
It's a good one. Again, I said I went with Minnesota. So, yeah, that was a good one. I love starting off my season like this. I got my upset pick right. I took the Las Vegas Raiders over the Baltimore Ravens. That was a close one. Went OT, and I was happy to pick that one up and going with them again in week 2, having them beat Pittsburgh. Number 6, your worst week 1 pick that you got wrong.
Well, my lock and my upset were both horrendous. So I picked Jacksonville to beat Houston, and I picked the Jets to beat Carolina. So not good last week for me.
I'm actually going for like personal reasons on this. Was me picking the Giants to beat the Broncos, because when I did it, every voice in my head said, Katie, you never do this. They're going to disappoint you. You shouldn't do it. You know better, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to regret it. And there it happened. So that was my own personal worst week 1 pick, because I just, the little devil on my shoulder was like, Katie. All right. So number 7, best quarterback performance week 1.
I feel like it's easy with Jameis Winston, 5 touchdowns. It's a beautiful thing.
There was one part of that performance from Jameis that was kind of fascinating, and it was actually like a little fun fact that popped up. I think he only had like around 150 yards passing, but 5 passing touchdowns. And that was like the most lopsided total for somebody who threw 5 touchdowns, but only had that few yards. So I'm actually going with Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes. I think this could, be another MVP season for him. He went 27 of 36, 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. Also, my honorable mention too, I thought it was a nice game from Kyler Murray as well. Okay, number 8, best running back performance.
I'm picking this individual because we were so close to the game, so I really could see the stats happening in real time. So I got to go with Melvin Gordon on the Broncos. He really lit up the Giants and found every possible space he could get into, and kills me to this day. I'm still having nightmares about it. So thank you for that, Melvin Gordon. And that is all I have to say.
Well, we mentioned this guy earlier in the show. I went with Carolina running back Christian McCaffrey. He had 98 rush yards, 89 receiving yards. Absolutely looked like the healthy Christian McCaffrey that everybody is used to. Phenomenal performance by him in week 1. Number 9, best wide receiver performance.
I loved what I saw out of Tyler Lockett this weekend, and I loved that continued chemistry with Russell Wilson. 2 touchdowns, then back to each other. Absolutely loved it. That really ignited a lot of spark, a lot of momentum for that team. So if we can get that, listen, if they can go back to back, maybe 2 possible touchdown scores with each other per game, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I really loved what I saw from him, and obviously that duo was really powerful.
Hands down, and I said this with my group that was in person doing our fantasy football draft, I truly believe Tyler Lockett might be one of the most underrated players in the entire National Football League.
Yeah.
For whatever strange reason, people just forget his stats and don't give him the credit that he's due. He's a monster. And most importantly, like you just said, him and Russell Wilson just have that connection, and it has never gone away. And as long as they have that, he's solid.
Right.
I went with Kansas City wide receiver Tyreek Hill, 11 catches, 197 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. He had 4 catches of 20-plus yards and 1 of 40-plus yards. I mean, and that's what you expect from Tyreek Hill. He's like that big play machine. So he was out there already killing it. And last but not least, let's give love to the defensive side of the ball. Best defensive performance. You could have picked a player. You could have picked a team, whatever you wanted to do on this one.
I got to single out a player here, and I have to go with Chandler Jones on the Cardinals. He ate up the Titans. I think it was 3 in the first quarter.
I think he finished with 5 sacks.
Yeah, and I know the number 3 was right away. Oh my God, ate the Titans offense up. That is what he needed that day. There was nothing, and that's what we mentioned it earlier in the show. They couldn't do a damn thing. It was because of him. He was all over the field. Major props to the Cardinals defense as a whole, but he stood out, and oh my God, this for the past couple of days, that's all I've been seeing him everywhere, reading up on it everywhere, and even to get to see a couple of those plays, on replay, everything like that. Just so good. So I love calling out the defensive players, and that was truly an exciting performance.
Nothing scares me more than seeing a star player start out week 1, first game of the season, recording 5 sacks.
Right.
All I think to myself is, dear Lord, Michael Strahan, let's hold on to our seats.
I know.
Nobody better be taking that sack record away.
No.
When you have a guy like Chandler Jones get 5 in the first game, that immediately gets my antennas up, and I am nervous about that record.
100%.
I actually went with a team on this one, and I'm actually sick of talking about it at this point, so I won't say much, but I have to give props to New Orleans for obvious reasons. Held Green Bay to 3 points. They also held them to only 229 yards of total offense, which was the best defensive-wise across the board in week 1.
It's so impressive.
Props to them. That was honestly unbelievable. And that's all I got on that one. But week one was a real good one.
It definitely was, for sure.
Yep.
Alrighty, is that time of the episode where we get it off our chest? Positive, negative, football, housewives, wine, life, pumpkin beer, actually, now that we're in the fall. Anything. I know, I honestly, I have so many the pumpkin beers in my refrigerator because of the variety pack from Wegmans, which we have to recommend to you guys. So if you have a Wegmans near you, you can make your own variety pack of a 6-pack. They've got all their fall beers out now. So have yourselves a field day. But yeah, so get it off your chest. You kick us off.
Mine's going to be super quick. Just kind of my first thoughts on my first action of fantasy football this past week.
Exciting.
It was exciting. A positive and a negative from it. The negative was that I got crushed, and I wasn't really expecting that. But I got crushed. I lost pretty badly. And so I told Caitlin, one of my main reasons for finally doing it is because I was so used to the Giants losing on Sunday that I was like, let's give myself a fantasy team to root for. And that way, if they win, maybe it'll make me feel a little bit better. But I didn't sit down and think about what would happen if the Giants lose and my fantasy team loses, and it feels even worse. So
yeah,
that was the negative. But I know it's a long season, week 1. I'm going to hang in there. Positive. It had me watching games that I wouldn't normally watch. I would say more so specifically the primetime games. I watch a lot of NFL Red Zone. So I do when I watch the Giants, and when that time slot is over, I'm strictly watching Red Zone. So I do catch all the games there. But I would say as far as the primetime slots go, I paid a lot more attention just because I'm like, oh, I've got a player going in this game. I want to see what they're doing. And so for that aspect, I definitely like fantasy football where it's kind of like, oh, Thursday night, it's this crap team against this crap team. Well, no, now I'm actually going to watch because I might have some of those crap players. So that is my get it off my chest. It's going to be fun fantasy season. I'm excited.
And don't worry, eventually someone's going to win. You might win twice in a weekend with the Giants in fantasy. So I've never had a weekend where Alabama, the Giants, and all of my fantasy teams have lost. So if that ever happens, don't call me on.
Have you ever had it where they've all won?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yes. So
what a great weekend.
I've had great weekends. So let's pray for more of those. I only lost one fantasy game this weekend. So
all right. Very nice. Very nice.
Pray for more W's in the future there. So we got some money to win.
Hell yeah.
All right. So mine, I can make it short and sweet too. But so on Monday night, ESPN kicked off the Eli and Peyton show, or I actually think it's Peyton and Eli show. So this came out, they had mentioned it, a couple weeks ago, probably to a month ago. They announced that they were going to do this, and it was basically just Eli and Peyton sitting on a couch and breaking down every Monday night game. So that's basically what it was. They are not together. It is virtual. So, but they actually did the setup really nice. Peyton's in his own studio. Eli's sitting on the couch. They brought in guests. So my overall get it off my chest is that it was absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. If you go on Twitter, go on other social media, everyone else loved it. It was truly incredible. Truly, truly incredible. So I love that they brought guests on. It wasn't just football guests. They brought Charles Barkley was their first guest. I thought that was hilarious. But then they also brought in current players. So Travis Kelce was on. Russell Wilson was on. They talked to
former players, Ray Lewis.
So I really liked the dynamic of having. I loved that they had current players on. I think that's great. I always feel weird when current players are interviewed on
strange. I was watching. I was like, ooh, they have current players talking about other current teams.
I know.
I'm like, this is interesting.
I always think that's weird, but they do that sometimes on Sports Center and Get Up. They Get Up usually they do it a decent amount. Oh, and Good Morning Football too, they'll do it. But it's usually when that team's on their bye week. That's when they talk to the person. This was prime. They're just
interesting.
Yeah, so Travis Kelce and Russell Wilson right off their W's for the weekend. So they're clearly flying high. So it was honestly just really good. If you are not, I know we talk to a lot of people when we talk about our podcast, we have our football lovers, we have our housewives lovers. Sometimes they don't cross paths. Housewives, cool, you can get into. I understand some people a little bit scared trying to get into football. They don't understand it, things like that. Clearly, it's taken Katie and I 29 plus years to get into the swing of things. So it takes a long time. If you truly have a hard time maybe understanding it, need a little help, I recommend watching this show. They broke down every single play and really fully analyzed it. Some they took more time on others. So while the game was going on, they were still on the last play and things like that. So I would never recommend, I'm not going to watch the Giants when this happens because I need to just fully be engaged in that game.
Yeah.
But they did a great job breaking down things. And it's from the mind of two quarterbacks. Two very good quarterbacks.
Forget, like, more importantly, though, like, the reason it was so successful, I think, is because these two are actually really seriously funny. Like, they have great comedic timing. Like, they're entertaining as hell. So you think, like, oh, it's so fascinating because they know football and they know what they're talking about. Yeah. But it's more entertaining because they're super funny.
They're so funny. Like all of Eli, and like Eli is the type of person where he's like subtly funny. Like, so he was just sliding in one-liners and basically making fun of Peyton the whole time, which was really funny.
I love it.
All of it was so funny. And one of the best parts of the show was actually near the end of their conversation. It might have been with Ray Lewis, but Eli's fire alarm was going off. Like, it was, whether he's in a studio or at his house, but it was very loud and he's just sitting there, like, not doing anything, just keep nodding along. He answered a couple questions. Peyton's still talking, literally going through. I saw a tweet online. They were like, did you just watch that broadcast where for 5 minutes the fire alarm was going off? Eli had no expression on his face. He goes, that is why that guy beat the New England Patriots 2 times in the Super Bowl because of that attitude.
Cool, calm, and collected, baby.
Just like, whatever, my house is burning down right now. Like, it's okay.
I got a show to do, okay?
This is what I signed up for. So I gotta say, it was absolutely amazing. Again, if you look on social media, the reviews, the ratings are in flying colors across the board. I do really, really hope, though, unfortunately, the plan was to move. We got that gist of it, that first Monday night game. The plan is that it's going to ESPN Plus only. I really hope that they see all of this positive feedback and they're like, no, let's give the people what they want. So Disney executives, if you're watching us now, we need you to you put it on ESPN Plus if you have to, but we need to see it. The average people that just pay stupid money for their cable, I need to see it on ESPN. So don't make me get whatever that is. Like, stop trying to make me get all of these stupid things. So
it's not going to happen.
It's really not going to happen. But bravo to the production team, to all of the people behind that show, because it was incredible. Incredible.
I loved it as well. So I'm glad you brought it up. So good to see those boys. And it was great.
I love it.
But anyways, things that you do not want to miss this week. We have Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That is on tonight at 8. It is already started. You can catch it on demand. Real Housewives of Potomac on Sunday at 8. And then that follows up with Real Housewives of Salt Lake City on right after on Sunday at 9. NFL Week 2, we've got our Giants playing tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football. The New York is at the Washington Football Team. Let's go into our weekend riding high. Let's just do it, G-Man.
What's the weather going to be like? 75. So is it not a onesie night? Do we not do our onesies tomorrow? I usually do that for the first night game. So
I have not looked.
I'm going to do it. It's a 75 and I think thunderstorm. So I'm going to do it. I'll sweat, but I'm going to do it.
Well, it's okay. I keep my house at 67, so I could rock a onesie. Okay, Sunday Night Football. We have. I think it'll be a good game. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens, and Monday Night Football. Certainly, all eyes on Green Bay. We've got the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. Now, of course, college football has started. Caitlin's a big college football fan, big Alabama fan. A lot of games so far. And as far as games that we're going to mention to you going forward, any ranked team playing another ranked opponent, those we consider to be the big games of the weekend. So this weekend, you want to catch Caitlin's number 1 Alabama football team versus number 11 Florida on Saturday at 3:30. Number 10 Penn State versus number 22 Auburn on Saturday at 7:30 at night. And then number 19, Arizona State versus number 23, BYU. They are on the West Coast. That will be on Saturday at 10:15 p.m. If you are a college football fan, those are the big time games you're going to want to pay attention to. That is our show, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot wait to keep reporting on the football season. of course, on what's happening in the world of Housewives. And we will see you next Wednesday.
See you next time. Goodbye.